At long last, Donkey Kong 3 Dai Gyakushuu has finally been dumped. But why did it take 33 years to do this? Let's take a look at some ads and images leading up to the game's release and speculate some. Alright, so first up here, we have the March 1984 issue. Now, unfortunately, this one does not have any ads for Hudson's Mario games. You might be asking why I own it if that's the case. Well, you see, these are essentially completely undocumented. I had no idea when they start. I still don't really know when they stopped. So I was just kind of speculating here. Now, Hudson Soft did run an ad, nonetheless. 2-page ad this time. Talks about some of the developers and whatnot. I don't know what these games are. Random sports games. These don't look like Nintendo sports games. I don't think they were. Yeah, I think there were some different ones, but you see here some of the platforms they were releasing them on, and some different prices. Almost $70 for some of these versions of sports games and blackjack, I guess, or whatever that is. I mean, with inflation, take everything into account. These are, you're not getting, an arcade port or anything more substantial like that. You're just getting one of those types of games. I don't know. I kind of have a feeling those wound up extremely rare as well, because I can't imagine many people would be willing to pay that price, but maybe that's just me. So, what we're going to get into now, I don't know of any of those developers, by the way. I don't know who they are. Maybe there's someone of note that we should be taking a look into. Some of these magazines I'm about to show you, I did receive some translations from once again, native Japanese speaker Bando. So, many thanks to him again. The only problem is I do not remember which translations that kind of go with each magazine. So, I'm not going to be able to translate things for you really. I might remember a couple. But, essentially, because I never photoshopped these. And what I was doing with translations with certain things, including Famicom System Pirating Company Aitsu's stuff, I know I did this with. I was photoshopping English writing on to the Japanese writing with some translations I actually got from a different method. But I've not done that with his translations yet because I'm having some major computer issues right now. And essentially I'm not able to. I don't have my PC. It's having hard drive issues that has to be repaired. But anyway, regardless of that, this time we get this ad here. Zoom out a little bit here. This was the first time DK3DG was shown off. This was its original logo. If you compare that, take a look at this. If you compare it to the original arcade logo, you'll see they are very similar. This game was very early on in development. I think Hudson probably just wanted to make a buck, her own licensing. Like I said, the only reason I can think of that they would have licensed DK3 instead of DK1, or even DK Jr., is that DK3 was newer. It was more relevant. That's the only plus, because DK3 did not do that well in arcades. I really enjoyed it, but it was not popular back in the day at all. So, I think that says something about DK being back and attacking Stanley with something. Believe this here says Hudson and Nintendo are working together. Some concept art of Stanley here. And you also have an ad for MBS up here. And also the logo was originally blue, or at least I think special. I want to say it was blue in the final. No, wait, that was red too. Yes, the whole logo is blue. There was some color differences here. Mario and Luigi. I'll get into more of this later as we get into later issues, but essentially, this kind of becomes a spot the differences puzzle with some of, especially Luigi's clothing on the box, on the prototype box art. And you'll see that some here more as we get into the next couple of issues. Something really interesting as well, which I haven't pointed out. Let's see if you can see this here. Try to focus it. Okay, there we go. It says Nintendo of America, the copyright is. And shows it right here too for DG. So why they licensed, why Japan-only games were licensed by Nintendo of America, I have no clue. I've never encountered anything that would say why, indicate why. I'm going to try to point out some differences as well, just as we go on. By the way, some of the ones I remember, because I looked at these a long time ago. I believe in the final, that pipe there stops the brick, so it's sort of cut off right here and then curves back. And up here, I think there was some white lining in the final, kind of like you see here on the wheel, to kind of give the pipe some more, lighting or whatnot. Then you have some random Japanese writing here, which I have no idea about at all. Not sure if I even got images of those. But yeah, and you'll also see nothing about Punchball. SME Special, obviously, nothing yet, because that was 2 years later. I have one magazine involving SME Special, actually, which you'll see later on. And that's pretty interesting. That'll be the last issue we look at, since it's the latest one I have. But for now, you'll notice no Punchball. Why, I don't know. I believe Punchball was being developed alongside these two. There are some images of a magazine I don't have that suggested that Punchball was not as rushed as I once thought it was. I actually had a full-page ad running into September or October of '84. I don't have that magazine. It's not Micom Basic Magazine, but it had to have been from around then, and I can't tell you much beyond it about that, except Punchball had a full-page ad when MBS and DK3DG shared a different ad. You'll see the type they shared later on. But yeah, so last thing I'm going to point out here is these were so early on in development at the time. You can see, first of all, only tape releases, but second of all, first instance here of DK3DG for the FM7, right there. It's planned right from the beginning. In the end, I don't think it was ever released on tape. MBS was. I don't think DK3DG was ever released on tape in the end. I know the version we done for the X1 certainly was not contradictory to this clear statement. There's another version for the X1 that came on a different sized floppy disk, which we don't have dumped, and it's not really any different. But anyway, see here, everything is a tape here. Everything is tape, no disc mentioned, and they're all priced at around $34 US. Okay. Now, May and June, which are coming up here, I'm just going to pull them both out, are, I can see they're most boring issues. They might be the most boring issues I have, potentially. The only other contender would be August of '84, but they're still interesting because I need to actually, here, let me see, should have brought images down with me of the box art, the final box art for both MBS and Punchball, MBS in particular. Okay, time for that now. So you see by now the logo is red. DK3DG was absent from advertising for a little while. I don't know what happened to it. And we'll still no Punchball, by the way. You see some other games advertised down here. I think my only theory as to why Punchball was absent from these is that for some reason Hudson distributed their advertisements very weirdly across magazines. So Micom, maybe they got less space in Micom. They thought, okay, we can squish MBS and DK3DG here on one page, like you saw in the April issue a minute ago. but we don't have room for a punch ball ad or something, and they advertise some of their other games instead. I highly doubt Nintendo was limiting them on any certain magazines. It doesn't really make much sense, since, like I said, there is some other magazine out there which had a full-page punch ball ad in the fall of '84. So anyway, this is the first ad, because I keep getting off topic. Mario's colors look much different from the finals you see here. Really dark blue, almost kind of a pinkish. Yeah, that's pink. That's not even red. Actually, is there pink in the final? It might be. Luigi's colors are different. I can tell, that's not white. His shirt is not white. That's the camera lighting. It's actually just, it's almost white. It's a very, very, very light beige. Still, Nintendo of America license. I'm not gonna point that out anymore, but because that becomes a that's on all the rest of them. This is something about Hudson and Nintendo working together, I believe. This says something about an original Mario Brothers game being made by Hudson, I think. And then releases here. Still only disc planned, and obviously only 4 different versions instead of the 8 we got. Yeah, there were double the versions by the time this thing was done releasing, and I'll get into the other versions when we get into the November issue and somewhat the October. June will be a quickie. June will be a very quick issue because it's almost the same as May. Let me find it here. I know you're not seeing much. Can we flip it? Okay. The only difference is, so you see, same here, pretty much. Mario's colors are obviously different, and Luigi's colors, obviously you can see now, that's an orangish color. And then the pipe also has lighting on now. The pipe has that white line of, like I said, glare, or not glare, lighting or whatnot. So that was the first time that was shown. Other than that, we can move on to July, which is possibly my favorite issue. It's also the one in worst condition. So you have to understand, when I was buying these, I just bought them in whatever condition I could find them. I spent probably more money. I spent quite a bit over $100 to get all these. Well over 100. Actually, yeah, the last one I got was 50 on its own or something. So I probably ended up spending around 200 on all these combined. But so you see here, see things like the torn-up cover. Thankfully, though, the part we're looking for, Hudson's Nintendo ad here, is in pristine condition, which is good. Very good. So, okay, so I'm going to work my way down from the bottom. Now, if you've been on the Mario Wiki, because I do edit there, because I'm always trying to add this obscure stuff to theirs, and I figure that's where most people kind of look for this obscure stuff, which might be why it's not known. Something about Hudson and Nintendo working together, I think. Mario Brothers, I don't know what that is. I forget what that is. This talks about Mario Bros. An original game. I think the bottom paragraph, something about flipping over enemies, cute enemies. I'll get you their colors real quick. Unique colors still, okay. Yep, lighting on the pipe still. Actually, I think that maintained. The pipe still continues into the ground there. But now we have the main attraction, which is why I like this issue so much. Prototype images of these games. So let's see here. So I'm going to work on my ones. So first off, hope this is focusing. Okay. Prototype of the first stage. Now, you see a blue background, and if you know your stuff, you might be thinking, okay, P6601 version. You'd be incorrect, because if you look closer, if you know more, you know that version, Mario and the enemies, especially Mario in particular, are different colors. You see Mario has his normal colors here that he has in the final, say, the X1 version. You see all the switches there at the top, I believe they're different colored, I don't remember exactly. And a very minor difference here, to try to situate this. It's hard holding this thing up in front of the camera the way I got positioned. This is weird, this almost makes more sense to me, it does make more sense. You see Mario's lives, player one's lives, on the left here. while player 2s are on the right. For whatever reason, they changed that. They swapped it before the final release. I don't know why. I think this makes more sense, honestly, because I think, in standard games, it'd work from left to right, left player 1, right player 2. So, why they changed that is anyone's guess. Well, wrong image. Not there yet. Okay, so next stage, which looks almost identical. You can also tell us it's a prototype because the player is on the second stage, but there's no score. Right, actually, that's player 1. You see player 1 here, no score, which they would have had to obtain to get to stage 2 or phase 2. So you see here, if you know your stuff, you might think something looks off, but you can't place it. The trampoline layout is reversed, so you see 3, 2, 3, 2, and the final is 2, 3, 2, 3. And also there's more shell creepers. This looks like the one stage which I have not shown off in special yet. When I have my computer fixed, I'm going to show up. I'm going to do a whole video on special because there is some really interesting stuff in there which has not been documented before. But one of the reasons I find this interesting, which it could be nothing, I could be wrong in this because you'll see what I mean in a minute when I say this, but since the ring appears right here in the final, this almost makes me think that, because normally, you would jump off here in the final, you jump off here to get the ring. No, actually, no, what am I saying? Not the ring, you jump off here to get on the platform. I don't know what I'm saying, but so if there is no room for the platform to appear there, this makes me think you're supposed to defeat all the enemies, but how you were going to escape the level I almost think would be different. Maybe exit. There's no exit doors. I would say there are kind of exit doors here and here, like you see over here, which will allow you to exit either side of the stage. But there's no exit gates, and the enemies aren't all defeated, so I'm sure they're not down, because I know, actually, even if they were down, you'd still see a little E up here, I believe. So, I don't know what the purpose of this prototype second stage was going to be. I don't know what its objective was. I really have no clue, because there's no exit gates, there's no platform here, there's no room for a platform. Maybe there was a ring. There could have been a ring there, potentially. And speaking of the ring, we get here to the biggest change, because we kind of work our way up. First here was just, a background color change and some minor things up here. Here, the platform layout reversed as well, which probably changed the dynamic, because like I said, probably changed how you were going to complete the stage. Unless the platform was at the bottom. No, because the platforms there are too close together. Then the third stage. The third stage is nothing like the final, essentially. Beyond the fact that it features conveyor belts, it is nothing like the final. Okay. Let's get a good look at that here. Okay, so essentially, I guess this one's actually kind of more self-explanatory. That this was probably going to be a harder version of the second stage here. Well, we don't know what the second stage's point was, though, or objective was. So, we don't know what the objective of this was, but let me put it this way. This was going to be at least a harder version of the final second stage. Because, essentially, instead of the ring, I'm guessing the ring was probably absent. Unless it was going to serve a purpose here. Maybe, I don't know, who knows. But, instead, you were going to hit this switch, probably. I don't know, the only problem is, I don't know how that switch would work. Because the ring, you couldn't hit the ring before, because it would only appear once all the enemies were defeated. You can see clearly here, there are enemies still on screen. And the switch is there. Now, it looks like you can hit it, but the question is, what would hitting this switch do? What relation did it have to completing the stage? And what was the point of the enemies? Were you supposed to make it to the top and hit the switch a couple times? and then it would beat the stage as if when you hit the ring in the final. If anyone else has any speculation on any of these 3 stages here, please let me know. And last thing here, still only tape releases. Nothing changed there. Alright. August issue here. This one will also be very short. Let's find it here. Try to open at least some of these in front of you guys. Did I already pass it? Yeah, I did. Where is it? It's gonna be here it is. Okay. So this is exactly the same as the July issue, except screenshots, final screenshots here. Now it's coming up blurry, but they're the same as the final. Actually, let me see something. I'm just looking at this now. Wait, is that right? Let me see. Okay, no, never mind. I was gonna say player 1 still had 0 points, but that's actually not true. I believe these screenshots were also used on the back of the box. Unlike DK3DG, though, they were final screenshots of the final game. At least it looks that way, unless I'm missing something. Okay. So here we get into the final few. This is final 4 here. So specials here. Some more box art, which I'm not sure if it was ever used. This is new release. I remember this. When this one says new, is in new game. I'm pretty sure this is maybe this says bestseller, and this is new up here. You see this text running down here that says, "Sorry if we caused you lack of sleep," which I do remember that from Bando's translations. So once again, thanks to Bando. But see some more box art of TK here, or concept art. And a little paragraph about DK's find Stanley with going around. I don't remember. As I said, I'll have to do a video on those translations sometime because I do want to put them to use. Okay, and here you have what I was talking about before when I was filming DK3DG. I mentioned prototype images on the back of the box. This one here is the most notorious. This was on the back of the box, and you see here the differences. If you see on video, I mentioned creepies on the first stage, DK just floating there, no parachutes, and a high score being there instead of top. And you notice, like I said, they were mismatched, having white score being light blue. And like I said, some other minor text color differences. I believe that, for instance, the Hudson Soft Nintendo here is that purplish color all the way through. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Except, actually, I will mention one more thing. This was so get a good look at this whole ad. When I mentioned the full page ad for Punchball in some RAM magazine, basically what the RAM magazine had, it had this on one page, and then, to my understanding, over here or something, it would have had Punchball's ad. Or actually, it might have been on this side. This might have been on this side, and Punchball might have been over here. Which was actually the case with October's, because October's is near identical, because they did this in pairs, essentially. They ran these ads in pairs. And this one is very similar, but like once again with a little more. So essentially the same here. This screenshot and everything. The only difference is that they have for MBS. They have some platform names. So P66, 601, MK2. That's why I often throw that in there with it. And you see the list of platforms that was going to be released on, that was out on. There are 2 missing here, I believe, just 2. Yeah, 2 missing here. And the SMC 777 version, supposedly, I don't know, I'll get into this more actually in the November issue. Supposedly, though, one of the developers says this was never released. I'm going to leave it at that, and I'll get into it more in a minute. So hold tight, but hang tight. But yeah, this is missing the MZ1500 version and the PC9801 version. They are not listed here yet. None of the magazines I have actually list the PC9801 version I have, but not list the PC9801 version. But there is an image of one I've seen online which does list it. November's does list the MZ1500 version, which you'll see in a minute. Now you see the platforms here. Where is it? Platforms list here. If this will focus. It's not focusing. Here we go. FM7 version still planned. This here. Oh, I don't know much. This says game or tape. One of those two have first word. And then 10 month or October. Essentially October release. So it was not out yet. But this implies that Special was out by this point. Which is helpful. So we know it came out probably prior to October. And here we have, nice to hear by the way, I mean the one I'm bringing up in a minute, I just got off a sec. We have the final one for the original, we'll call the original Big 3 Hudson Mario games, because Sesame Special is actually kind of out on its own, as far as dates go. There are images of this online, but they not show the text clearly. Okay, this is, I think, something about, sorry if we caused you lack of sleep again. And now let's play Spot the Differences again, because we have some things to do here on the box art. We'll start there. I don't remember what most of this text says. Same thing about Special. I think Special's text actually, this applies to the September and October issues as well. But it says something about the enemies are cute turtles and crabs, but you must defeat them. If Mario defeats them, he will complete the stage, something like that. Punch balls. Mario Brothers use balls to stun enemies and then kick them off the screen to complete the stage. This is something about DK3 coming back also. There's another cat, there's another creepy over there. Look at that. Look at that. Look how hard the first stage is going to be. If you see me play, you know I had enough trouble with this game, and I've seen other people have it too. They actually were going to put creepies on the first stage. I don't even know. They really, yeah, I'm glad they took that out. But that's still the same image that appears in the back of the box. But you see a third creepy over here. So you see the edge of the picture better. The edge of the edge of the picture better. But prototype box art here, I believe maybe minor color differences. But the main thing is it says Mario Brothers Punch Ball instead of Punch Ball Mario Brothers. Now this name is still the same. The name in Japanese is still Punch Ball Mario Brothers, I believe. So this was just a box art thing. The December issue, which I do not have, someone was nice enough on Tokugawa forums to post an image of the December issue, which she apparently had, and it is near identical to this whole thing, except you'll see the circles over here. I think they're actually red and blue. I think they actually had color doom, and this is, I believe it's Punch Ball Mario Brothers, or it might still be this, but the black is actually a different. I want to say it's orange or something, and I think the final's dark blue. I think. And then we have TK3DG's box art. So I'm going to show you this here. Now this specifically states 5-inch floppy disk, obviously. It's released on multiple sizes. The one we had dumped was a 3-inch, which was not used long. That's why an extra drive had to be. Where am I? Extra drive had to be purchased to get it, because 5 inches more common if we had gotten a version with this. Obviously, good luck with that, since these things rarely pop up for sale. I believe also these plants down here, the colors are swapped. For instance, the ones up here too. So for instance, the dark green ones are light green and vice versa. And the Dai Gyakushuu writing in Japanese. See how it's curved there? Finals just straight across. And then we have this sentence right here. This sentence my photos did not pick up. I've been meaning to send this to Bando for a translation. Because it says something about an October 5th release date. In fact, Bando, if you're watching this, if you want to post in the comments or let me know what this means. Careful here. So who knows, guys, maybe in the comments or in the description or in a later video I'll address what this means. So So I forgot to send him a picture of this because it's kind of separate from everything the way I was trying to photograph this. No special box art differences, by the way, to my knowledge. Then we have the versions. Okay. First of all, finally, mentions of disc releases. You see the MZ1500 version here was delayed. SMC 777 version, like I said, was not released. The reason for that, okay, supposedly, the SMC 777 version of Special is an enigma, an extreme enigma, because there have been claims, people claim to have seen it, but the developer, one of the guys who ran these ads, you see all these ads, there was a guy named Imatani-san. He worked at Hudson and he ran these ads, or he created these ads, and he says that this was never released. He claims that, yeah, he says it was planned, it was canceled, which makes sense because in the January issue it was gone. I think in the December issue it was still there, but I know by the January issue this was not planned anymore, so that would explain it. But at the same time, the developer gave us some release dates which don't line up. For instance, he claimed Specials was in February, but we have beta images from July, and I know magazines can be late on their images. They can be kind of bad about that, but with that big a difference, I highly doubt it came out in February. Same for Punchball. He says Punchball was February as well. But let's say they were February. I would have some March ads or something, you know? That's another thing. So who knows? So he says it wasn't, so I mean, he says that DK3DG was October, which we know to be true. He says SMB Special was August, which is interesting, it's very interesting because that could indeed be due to bad magazine screenshots, which you will see next in the final issue, because this is the second last issue here. But, so does it exist or does it not? I don't know. I don't think it does. Because he's right about some things, other things don't line up. He had to ask someone else about the release dates. We lost contact with him after we tried to ask him some more about this stuff. So, I don't know. People claim to have seen it. If you hear the Beep Shop in Japan, I think they claim on their website they post prices for items they've seen, and they have a price for this. So they claim to have seen it. The developer says it hasn't. Most websites say it was released. There's one Japanese wiki of some sort that says it was canceled, like Imatani was telling us, but I don't know. I've talked way too long about that mysterious version, though. Let's move on. So, okay, two things about TK3DG here. So you see this version, the PC601 MK2/PC601 version, the only version we had footage of all stages before the game was dumped for the X1, it was delayed. This was obviously released. We have footage of it. It's not a prototype. This was clearly released. And then you have the FM7 version, which was apparently tape and disc release at this point. I just realized now the disc release was not, does not seem to have been delayed or anything. But it seems to have a, say, November delay or release or something. Which essentially means that it was delayed, so they were starting to, okay, we're going to release this, and obviously FM7 version was canceled in the end, so we know how that ended. Now, to address some versions that were released, but are not featured here, you see only Special here for the MZ1500. Punchball was released for that. Same thing with the S1, only Specials listed. Punchball was actually released for that. Out of all the games, Punchball for the S1, for Hitachi S1 or Hitachi MB S1, is an enigma, even more so. I mean, probably the second rarest version of all of these games. We have no footage, we have no screenshots of it, we don't know. A few sites claim it exists, and we have Hudson's official authority saying yes, it exists. And another thing, there was a version which I did not believe it existed. A few sites said it did, but I couldn't find any ads that said it did exist. So apparently Imatani must have made some, because he says it exists and you're not seeing it here. Punchball for a computer called the IBM JX. Extremely rare computer. I remember seeing a thread on Tokugawa about a long time ago. Nothing was really known about it. And no one knew anything about it, so it's extremely mysterious. So that version may never be dumped, unfortunately. I'll be lucky if we get any screenshots, let alone video of it. But apparently, I believe him on that also. I'm going to take his word for that it does exist, because if he made the ads, he probably remembers something. Surely he remembers something. There must just be an ad I don't have, and an ad that's not documented on the internet, which probably makes sense, because there, all of us want to document. You're seeing this for the first time. Some of these ads were never documented before, so who knows what all is out there. And I believe that wraps up this issue, I think. So that wraps up the pre-development of those 3 games. What I will say is that if you are wondering, before I move on to this last issue here, which is the only one I have regarding SME Special. Now, if you're here, SME Special is the most common, so this is kind of the grand event for some people, the main event for some people, I'm sure. You're probably waiting to see what I uncovered about it. Which isn't quite as great, some of the stuff I uncovered about, MBS or whatnot, but it's still pretty cool. But what I will say, Imatani said that these prototype images came from, the magazines were essentially sent prototypes of the games, which makes sense. So a prototype of MBS does exist. A prototype of DK3DG does exist, or they did at least. Who knows about Punchball's beta? Who knows if it existed? SME Special Prototype, which is shown here in just a second, must also exist. So all these magazines must have gone. I don't know if they still exist. Dumping a prototype of this means that, DK3DG was just dumped. Imagine we dumped a prototype of it, sometime. That would just be nuts. If anyone has any information about that, or any developers to contact, or anything, please let me know, because dumping a prototype, especially, I'm a huge fan of MBS. I'd love to play the prototype of that in particular. But obviously, any information about any prototypes, please let me know. That's right, I forgot. It's way back here, because this was when the magazine expanded to be longer and have more content. So some of the ads were back there, but here we have it. Alright. First of all, you can't see the top. I think it's coffee. You see very faint kind of white pixels. Okay, this is probably the X1 version, judging on the color palette. You see this part is essentially identical to the first SMB, minus coins. However, not all of it was, because you see certain things like this. I'm going around the images. This is almost identical to the first one. It's almost like a swapped version, a kind of a backwards version of the beginning of 1-2 in the original game. I don't know what to make of that. I don't know. I'm guessing this was probably supposed to be a bit similar. You see Mario jumping on a flagpole here. Nothing we can gain from that. Okay, there's 2 big kickers though. I don't know. I haven't had any of this text translated. I haven't sent Bano any images for that. I'll have to send him some. But look at Mario's sprite. If this will focus. Clearly, look at his feet position. He's jumping underwater. He is not swimming. That is clear. Clear jumping. So I don't know if this might have just been a leftover, so they might have just not programmed this in yet. But it looks like either Mario's swimming sprite was this, or he was going to be able to jump underwater, and underwater was almost going to be a filler section. Sort of kind of like, if you ever played Onkachi Mario, that one weird lava area in 5-4 where lava comes up to the top of the screen. That could have been this, except for water. It could have been something like that. Actually, 2-3 from Onkachi Mario would be a better example of water like this filling a screen. It could have been that, but who knows. I'm going to leave you with this in a second, right now. Guys, hope you enjoyed this video. I'll plan to do more in the future. Not magazines, but more in Hudson's Mario games for sure, since you guys seem to like it so much, and I really enjoy doing videos on this. I'll plan to talk about the Famicom Disk System piracy company Aitu at some point. But yeah, regardless, here's the final image. Where is it? No special moniker, no special subtitle. It was just SMB for X1 and PC8801. Hope you enjoyed, guys. See you next time.